Well, welcome to another episode of Third Saturday in October. I'm Bradley Minigan. This is Chris Murphy with me. Welcome to the SEC Tailgate podcast for the rest of us. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I am growing in excitement that we may actually have a football season this year. So any mention of football, and I will caveat this because I feel like I also have to do this in this day and age. I want everybody to be safe.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to get coronavirus. But selfishly, I want to watch college football this fall. So
Yes.
having said that, I want everybody to remain safe and do what's right for you. I want to see some football, and it seems like we're getting closer to that being a reality. What about you?
Yes, so I'm very excited because two things we found out this week. One, the SEC has released their schedule for fall camp. They have said, okay, fall camp can start. Here are the details. We're also going to talk about preseason rankings. They're starting to appear on the interwebs. So be sure to follow us on social media at TSIOPod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go to thirdSaturdayinOctober.com. If you give us your email address, we will give you a tailgating one sheet. And this is news to Chris. We're going to be coming up with a COVID-safe tailgating checklist for you as well. How can you tailgate if we can't actually go to games this fall? So we're going to be working on that. Be on the lookout for that. You'll be the first one to receive it if you go sign up at thirdSaturdayinOctober.com. But
that idea.
Let's get into talking SEC football because it's so close.
It is around the corner. I mean, again, at this point, we were coming to you in the first week of August. So now that the schedule has moved around, we have 7 weeks until kickoff at this point,
something like that. And only from we're recording this on August 6th. On August 17th, fall camp can kick off. So right now, teams can go in and work out, do walkthroughs, have meetings, but very limited hours. But on August 17th, football is in the air. I mean, I'm excited. I don't know what to say.
I want to mention this with just that something that I heard today that brings me hope. I was listening to some folks over on ESPN talking about is the trend that UConn recently has said that they are not going to be playing any games this season. They bowed out of the 2020 season. Does that bode poorly for the rest of the FBS? And what I heard from people –
here's my thought.
Yeah.
Do they have a football team?
One that probably will not be vying for a playoff spot if they do indeed play this season. Yeah.
So I think the whole reason they don't want to play is so that they don't have a winless record at the end of the year. Honestly, I've got no idea how good they are at football. I know their women's basketball team has a dynasty. Can't stand them because it used to be Tennessee and UConn every year.
Yeah.
Then Pat Summitt, may she rest in peace, got sick. That the Tennessee dynasty kind of fell apart. So I don't care about UConn. I don't know. I think the SEC would say, I don't care if how many teams are there? 158, 136, something?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
We don't care if we're the only 14 teams playing. I think the SEC would say we're still going to play.
True.
Now, I think they will make it safe, but as safe as possible.
Yeah.
But I don't put too much stock in UConn calling it quits already.
Yeah, and luckily that's what I've heard as well, that there may be other teams that end up bowing out for the season, if not whole conferences. But I heard that there were some financial issues with UConn that there's over $100 million in things that they owe, to something to that degree. And so part of their decision not to play any games this year was to not lose even more money that they already owe, which is a pretty unique problem to UConn. That's not the case for a lot of other teams out there. So I heard other teams may indeed decide if the trend continues to look like a poor outcome for player safety, that other teams may end up bowing out, but that UConn specifically is not the reason that that's going to end up coming to play.
Well, something that's interesting, and I've tried to look up statistics. It doesn't look as bleak as it did years ago, and I think it's because of TV contracts. It used to be that there were only 5 or 10 athletic departments across the country that were profitable.
Yeah.
Because just giving out scholarships, the only sports that really bring in a lot of money are football, men's basketball. I don't know that there's really any spring sport that brings in a lot of money. So the bigger football programs like Tennessee, Alabama, USC, you've got Florida, Georgia, those huge programs, Texas,
Ohio State, Michigan, yeah.
Especially the ones who are good in football and men's basketball, those are generally the programs that are going to be profitable. Everybody else is working in the red with a loss, just because when you look at all the scholarships they give for all their athletes, if you've only got 2 sports that are making money on their own and they have to pay for the other sports, I think that's a big reason to stay with it and see if you can play some football. Now, if you can't have fans in stands, you have to rely pretty much solely on TV revenue. I don't know that UConn's getting anything.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know what conference they're in, but I don't think they've got a TV deal. So,
I heard that for the I should know this, being on a football show right now, what conference they are in, but they are having to bow out of.
If they're not in the SEC, what do we care?
Hey, this is the third Saturday in October podcast, man. This is an SEC podcast.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Again, they had to even bow out of the conference that they were in this year because of some financial issues. So yeah, again, whatever conference they were in, they were not able to play in it. So yeah, interesting take. But I'm glad to know that that's not going to be a harbinger of things to come for other football teams. Going back to being able to practice with the teams. What date did you say? August 17th? Okay.
And it's a little bit longer. It's about 5 weeks of camp. And what I read is that's because they want to give more days off at the end of the week. So I think they get 2 days off instead of just 1.
Gotcha.
They want to kind of space things out a little bit and kind of give players a little extra time to recoup, because fall camp is tough. And so, the big thing is your immune system. When you're exhausted, your immune system is tired. And so if you can keep your immune system rested, then you can better fight off viruses and bacteria, viruses like COVID-19. So that's very exciting news, just that the SEC is moving forward with fall camp. We have a start date. Last week we talked about September 26th is kickoff. It made me think today, I need to go back and watch Remember the Titans, just because I watched that and I'm ready to run through a brick wall. Also, I don't think there's a movie that combines just our love of sport, especially college football. They deal with high school football, but football and just racial reconciliation that we're dealing with on top of all the pandemic stuff. So I think it's a very fitting movie for the time. And I really haven't seen it in probably over 10 years. I mean, I watched it every week when it first came
Yeah.
out on DVD. Um, but the other thing that's got me excited is preseason rankings.
Oh, we had some drop today.
Yes. So Fox Sports earlier this week started releasing one day at a time, which is painfully slow. Their top 25 starting at 25 with Utah, 24 is the University of Tennessee. We're
Go
in the
Vols,
top
baby.
25 preseason in some poll. I don't care uh, if it's mom, pa's moonshine poll. It's a poll. So Fox Sports has said Tennessee. We think you're going to be 24. It'll be interesting to see how their especially top five pan out and how many teams from the SEC make it in there. But the one that was just released Thursday, August 6th, was the AP coaches poll,
Right.
or the coaches poll. I don't know if they're associated with the Associated Press, but the coaches poll, number one is Clemson, number two is Ohio State,
Right.
and uncharted territory for Alabama coming in at number three. Chris,
Oof.
what's it like only being the third best team in the country?
Now I know what it is to be in that. What is it that Dabo said a few years ago? It's the other y'all and them bus or something like that. That's us now. We're in the
Well,
in the bus trailing the other bus.
well, I think you told me that Alabama was ranked third, and I thought, okay, Alabama's just lost the best quarterback maybe they've ever seen,
Yep.
and they fall
True.
all the way to third. That's it, third.
Yeah.
So
Well, I will say that we have a really strong opportunity at defense this year. I'm really excited about the opportunities that we have there. And Mac, who we think will be our starting quarterback, is showing all sorts of good signs. At the end of last season, when he had to take over for Tua, he got some real playing time. He had to learn some hard lessons, and so I hope that we can hit the ground running with him behind center. But with fall camp starting here in a week or two, it will be interesting to see the quarterback battle that we have between Mac and Bryce Young, who's coming in as a freshman. But when Bryce Young basically signed to come to Alabama, that's when Tua's brother decided that he's going to enter the transfer portal. So it looks like that those two guys will be a pretty dynamic duo and maybe quite a competition as well. So I'm excited. Third place, again, with not having Tua, with all the changeover that we had with the draft. I think that we have some real opportunities. Now having an SEC-only schedule, we're going to hit the gauntlet and be running hardcore. But I think that that's an acceptable place to fall in, having barely scraped through the top 10 at the end of last season. So I'll take it. I'll take it. And again, as we always talk about, these preseason polls are assumptions because we don't know what's going to happen when the season gets going. But
we don't know if we'll
I'll
finish
take
the
third place.
season. I mean, it's a big question mark. Who knows what's going to happen? But you said hit the ground running. Speaking of running, how does your backfield look? I mean, who are your running backs this year?
That's going to be a question mark as to how people are going to step up there. We have, I think, two returning guys, which is going to be good because they've had experience before. But we lost a few to the NFL as well. So there are some question marks as to how they are going to be able to give some relief to our quarterbacks who are still kind of getting their feet underneath them. But yeah, we'll see. We always seem to have a pretty stout offensive line and defense. So hopefully if our playmakers on offense at quarterback and the running back positions step up, I think that we're going to have a good showing. If our wide receiver core, I think it's supposed to be really strong again this year as well. So I'm pumped about the opportunities there because we lost quite a bit. I think Ruggs, when he went to the Raiders last year, I mean, he's one of, I think, three that we lost at that wide receiver position. that won't be here this year. So going to be interesting. Going to be interesting. What about you? Tennessee hit the Fox Sports poll, but just edged out and came in. I think that we saw 26th place for
26th.
the coaches poll. So do you feel like that the 24th position at Fox and then 26th in the coaches poll is a fair number, or do you think that they deserve to be higher?
I'm not sure they even deserve to be that high. It's
okay.
I'm cautiously optimistic. It's because I'm looking at Garantano, who he's been hit or miss. I'm looking at receivers who we lost all of our starting receivers from last year. And I mean, we've got some good guys. We've got some transfers. We've got a good group of receivers. They're just untested.
Yeah.
We could have the best offensive line in the SEC. We're still waiting on Cade Mays, who transferred from Georgia, whether he'll be eligible. We've got Brandon Kennedy, center from Alabama. He's a sixth-year player because of some injuries and redshirts and all that. We've got Trey Smith, who he's the one who had heart conditions over the last couple of years.
Right.
Maybe they say maybe the best offensive lineman in the SEC, playing guard for us. And then our two tackles were true freshmen last year. They started most of the season, and it's their job to lose on the ends. So that line should be pretty stout. We've got some great backups as well, starting to build some depth and some size there. Our tight end, Austin Pope, just had back surgery, so it's a lot of unproven guys, but quality guys coming out of high school. We had a running back arrested on, I think, drug and weapons charges, which sounds like 98, so I'm feeling good. But so he was dismissed and ended up transferring to another school. But we've got Eric Gray returning, who is the freshman from last year, just turned it on at the end. Ty Chandler is a great running back out of Nashville going into his senior season. So excited about the offensive side of the ball. On defense, our line is starting to come together. We've got a couple young studs at inside linebacker. Our secondary, our corners are some of the best corners in the SEC. When you look at their stats. So I'm cautiously optimistic. It looks good. We still don't have a lot of depth everywhere. So tight end, we saw that. Austin Pope's out with back surgery. Who knows how long? It's a big question mark behind him. So can those other guys step up and fill those shoes? It's going to be tough with the schedule this year. Georgia's still good. Florida is still good. Alabama fell all the way to third. So maybe we have a shot there. I don't know. Who our other two West opponents are going to be? It's going to be a tough draw if we get LSU. It's going to be a tough draw if we get A&M. I think it's going to be tough if we get Ole Miss or Mississippi State. I don't think it's going to be easy any way you slice it. It's not going to be easy if we get Auburn. So I don't know if I'm leaving anybody out, but I don't know. I would rather be 26th in the poll and have to go prove ourselves than be 24th and then, just have a 5-5 season.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb because right now, just thinking through the fact that the SEC is having to invent these 2 additional games for each team to play. I'm going to go out on a limb or I'm going to make a prediction that Ole Miss is going to be one of your other teams because of the draw of watching Lane Kiffin have to play you guys again. I'm just going to –
that one better be in Knoxville.
Absolutely. I think that it should be your home game out of those two. That would be dynamic. It would be amazing. It would get so many eyeballs to watch that comeback and may create its own little rivalry. I know that Tennessee and Ole Miss have traditionally not been heated rivals, but I could see that becoming something in the 2020 season that is a big, fun talking point. So my prediction is that Ole Miss will play you guys at home this year.
Well, it would be awesome to if we play 4 West teams to go 3-1. Whether our one loss is Alabama, our one loss is an LSU or an Auburn or Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I do feel like Tennessee has the potential to go 3-1 against the West this year.
Yeah.
I would love to see Tennessee come out of the gates if they play Florida first and just stun Florida. I don't care if it's 1 point or 100 points. I just want a W in the column against Florida. Georgia's going to be tough, but they've also got a lot of question marks. They lost a lineman to transfer. They lost their quarterback going early to the draft. I just want to see him play.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel like there's so much still to talk about, so many question marks out there that so much of the season still 40-something days away, 49, maybe 50 days away at this point. Still so much speculation. So I'm ready to get some football started. I'd be happy with getting some news that once fall camp starts, that hearing some news about these players once they start playing one another. So I'm pumped for that. Let's take a rundown of the SEC teams that did make the coaches poll top 25. We've got Bama coming in at 3rd, and then 4 and 5, we've got Georgia and LSU. Do you think that both of those teams deserve the 4th and 5th place there?
You know, that's saying a lot about the other 21 players on the field because they both lost really good quarterbacks to the NFL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these coaches know better than I do. But, that is surprising.
It is. You and I have talked about this quite a bit, and this was a big talking point around the end of last season, that with Joe Burrow at behind center and the dynamic story that LSU was. This time last year, we weren't really talking about them in the hunt for a national championship. We were talking about the fact that Alabama is going to run away with the West again, and Georgia will probably be the top contender in the East. And then Alabama will probably end up going to the national championship or go to the playoffs. That's not how it ended up. That's one of the things that I love about college football, even though my team was the one that kind of took the hit last year, is that once players start going and teams get that momentum and coaches, especially somebody like Ed Orgeron, gets fired up, like anything is possible. But knowing that this time last year, we weren't really looking at LSU as a top contender. Because at that point last year, Joe Burrow had not played a snap at LSU, transferring from Ohio State.
But we had just gotten done with SEC Media Days, and Joe Burrow said there, we're going to score a lot of points. And boy, did they ever.
Record-breaking setup. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Knowing that and knowing how much of a talking point it was at the end of last season, that LSU was going to lose so many players, and they did, to the NFL. They actually ended up losing several coaches as well. Do you think that LSU could make another run at it this year with the personnel that we know that they have?
You know, Orgeron's done such a great job of bringing back some pride to LSU that I think had left when I mean, I think Les Miles had it. Nick Saban definitely brought it. But I think towards the end of Les Miles' career, people were starting to question LSU a little bit.
Yeah.
Orgeron's got fans, carrying him off the field. Nick Saban has proved that assistants can come and go. He's still going to win. He can lose some of the best players Alabama's ever seen and still be ranked third in the preseason rankings.
Yeah.
So, I've got to see a game or two before I say, you know what, maybe LSU doesn't live up to the number 4, number 5 ranking, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Somebody else is going to have to prove to me that they can beat LSU with or without Joe Burrow.
True. Yeah, we've got Bama at 3, Georgia at 4, LSU at 5, and then Florida in 8th place. That rounds out the 4 SEC teams in the top 10. And then we have from Alabama, the Auburn University coming in at 11th, and then Texas A&M at 13th. That is the 6 teams that we have in the top 25. Any surprises in who was in the top 25 and surprises on those that may have been left out?
When was the last time Florida was not in the top 25?
I mean, a couple of years ago, they had some really down years, and so I think that it would.
They still beat Tennessee, so why does it matter?
I think that they did have some lean years where maybe they weren't given the opportunity in the top 25. But there have been a couple of years where I think that their schedule, the way that they ended up the season, I didn't really understand why other people thought that they could have been in the top 25 preseason. So we'll see. And I would love to hear from you. Folks that are calling me a hater right now on Florida, please let me know how I'm wrong. But especially last year at quarterback, they had some issues with just consistency and him being able to. I'm blanking on the name right now, but the Florida's quarterback. Was he the one that got injured last year?
No, he came in and I guess against. Did he come in against Miami and just start picking them apart?
Yeah, yes.
Because Miami was looking good at first, I think. Florida had somebody else in there. Then Trask came in and just ran away with the season. Really impressed a lot of people.
Yeah. We'll see. Again, so much speculation. I know that oftentimes coaches, even the coaches poll, don't put a lot of stock in where they're ranking preseason because they have to improve their ranking once they start playing teams. So with that, I'm glad that Alabama is a top 5 pick for the preseason in the coaches poll. Be interested to see what the AP poll shows as well once that's released. And then we're off to the races, buddy. We're getting closer every day to a season.
No, I get nervous. I'm just waiting for my phone to show me a headline or something that says football's canceled, and I'm scared to look at anything. But we got fall camp coming up. We've got kickoff looming in front of us. Chris, I got one more question for you today.
All right, bring it, brother.
If you had to pick a quarterback for Alabama, would you go with Mac Jones, who, I mean, you saw him last year, some good, some bad, but he's only got, a handful of games under his belt as a starter? Would you take Jarrett Garantano, who has started most of 3 years, but is also still a question mark?
Oof. Wow, what a good question. You know what? I'm going to be a homer and say Mac Jones, only because I really need to believe in his potential for this year.
He's got to help you climb 2 spots.
His way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. What about you? That's a great question, by the way.
I want to believe in JG. I do. I think my favorite thing about him this year is there is a crowded QB room. we've got him, got JT Shrout, got Brian Maurer, who played last year and kept getting concussions. Not sure what his future is going to be if he continues to get concussions. I think it's Kalen Hill, transfer from Maryland, who sat out last year, but he's been in the Tennessee offense for a year. I believe it's Harrison Bailey is a true freshman coming in, highly touted freshman. You've got a lot of talent in that QB room, so whoever makes it to the field better perform. Because I think all these guys have another year of experience under their belt. Hopefully they've progressed. But yeah, I gotta hope. I don't have any choice but to put my hope in JG. So
yeah. I wonder if with Garantano and like what you're saying, having a crowded QB room, that it's kind of one of those the high tide rises all ships sort of thing, that everybody's game is elevated, and that knowing that if you throw an errant pass or if you don't make your reads like you're supposed to, you've got somebody hungry nipping at your heels. And hopefully that sort of pressure can be positive pressure for the quarterback position at Tennessee, to really have somebody rise to the top and play at a higher level, even that Garantano did last year.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in camp. Hopefully nobody gets hurt.
Oh man, yeah. Let's keep everybody safe from injuries and COVID. That's what we need.
Yeah. So, Chris, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Just quickly, you were mentioning about the quarterback room for Tennessee, and what my ideal scenario for Alabama's quarterback position would be that Mac Jones starts, but Bryce Young is showing every bit of promise that he was recruited for, and that maybe kind of in a 3 years ago at Alabama situation to where Jalen Hurts was kind of our starting quarterback, but we knew that we had somebody talented in the freshman Tua Tagovailoa. And that over the course of the season, we saw plenty of playing time in the second half for Tua. And so much so to where Saban can easily rely on Bryce Young in a position to where if Mac Jones goes down with an injury or has any sort of issues with his play, that Bryce Young can go in there and immediately be a threat. But that Bryce Young can get some good playing time, if not a start or two, this season. And I really do think that, as much as I would love to see Bear Bryant's great-grandson, who is one of our quarterbacks as well, but I think maybe third on the depth chart at this point, maybe fourth. As much as that would be cool to see him get some playing time, I would really like to see Bryce Young start early, becoming that next Tua.
Well, he can always be holder. It's good to have a quarterback as a holder, just in case things go wrong.
We know we need the quarterback to perform well because we know at Alabama the kicking team is going to disappoint us in some way throughout the season. So,
although I did see that Alabama's kicker was doing some summer workouts here in Nashville at my alma mater, Brentwood Academy, I believe, with James Wilhoit, former Tennessee kicker.
Very cool.
Nailing like 60-yarders or something. So
I'll take it.
Now it was James Wilhoit, somebody holding the camera, and maybe mom or dad there. So there wasn't a whole lot of pressure, but it's possible.
Yeah. I hope so. I know that I've got a hometown from my hometown of Prattville, Alabama. The guy that came from there has been did a lot of good work as a freshman punter last year. So hopefully he can bring some relief to the place kicker. We need some help kicking field goals. So fingers crossed.
Well, the best defense for a bad kicker is just score touchdowns. Make every kick easy.
100%. Yeah.
But be sure to visit thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com. Get that. Be first in line for that tailgate checklist. Also, find us on social media at TSIOPod. This has been another episode of Third Saturday in October. Until next time, roll balls.
Roll balls, baby.